So this video is probably going to be the most controversial video I've done on this channel. Good, so you guys have probably heard of tier lists, right? I mean, there's like a billion other videos out there with various tier lists. There's pretty much a tier list for f***ing everything. Want to know how your ex-wife ranks you amongst her other lovers? Tiers! So I thought today I'd add my contribution to the tier list horribleness on YouTube and do one for pretty much any racing game that I've played or can think of, ranking them from pure simulator to the ultimate insult, full arcade. But to be serious for a second, this is just for fun. It's my opinion as a sim racer / occasional real-life racing driver, and it doesn't mean that this is fact at all. In fact, I would love to hear your comments and opinions down in the comments below. Don't be too nasty though, because I will be going into witness protection as soon as this video goes live. Anyway, on with the shithousery. So here is our lovely tier list. As you can see, pure sim at the top, full arcade at the bottom, and a whole host of different video games that I've played at some point on this channel, or just have played in general. There might be some missing. For example, we did have Asphalt 9 on here before, but I've never actually played that, so I didn't want to whack it up there based on not knowing anything about it. But anyway, let's get into it. So first up is the original Rfactor 1. I spent so many hours in this game, and when I played it back in the day, I definitely considered it a pure thoroughbred simulator. But as technology's gone on a little bit, it's maybe not quite as modern as it used to be. So for our first entry into our tier list, Rfactor 1 goes into simulator-ish, which means that there's still a lot of simulation value in it, but I wouldn't put it as the top of the pile. Still pretty banging though. Next up, Assetto Corsa. I do a lot of stuff in AC. I love the game a lot, and I actually think, after doing a lot of real life driving, that the way the road cars move around on their tyre, the way the sort of car shuffles about, is probably the most realistic in Assetto Corsa compared to all the other simulators. It does have its downfalls though, but on that I am still going to whack it up there in pure simulator. I love AC. Awesome game. Next, Project Cars 2. Oh dear. This is where I'm going to get beaten up, isn't it? I didn't mind Project Cars 2, but the physics aren't quite there. I remember driving in an IndyCar league for a couple of races, and the cars just felt like they had this weird terminal understeer that couldn't be fixed by anything. The car just like ploughed along, but that was how you drove quickly. By just ruining the front tyre. So I say that whilst Project Cars 2 does have some sim elements in it and is a great stepping stone into a pure simulator like Assetto Corsa or others on this list, I wouldn't quite say it's a simulator. So I'm going to put it middle of the road. I can hear the keyboard warriors already. Next up, Forza Motorsport 7. For me, this has the same sort of simulation value as something like Project Cars 2. This might not be a very popular decision. I've only played this game a couple of times, but I very much enjoyed driving it. I will say in Forza Motorsport 7 though, everything likes to oversteer. They haven't quite got the way cars get on throttle done correctly in that game. Kind of the opposite problem to Project Cars 2, where everything is understeery. So for that purpose, again, still a really fun game, really enjoyed playing it, but not quite got that massive simulator value. Mario Kart 8 is fairly easy. That goes straight into full arcade. No simulation value there at all, apart from the look that Luigi gives you when he smashes the shit out of you with some sort of shell. That's realism right there. So Dirt Rally 2.0 is another interesting one. Another game that I've spent a lot of time in and I actually do enjoy playing quite a bit. I will say though, it's quite forgiving as a game. I think it has come on from the original Dirt Rally, which again was fairly forgiving. And given the absence of Richard Burns' Rally on this list for some reason, I don't know, I forgot to put it on here, I will have to say that I think Dirt Rally 2.0 would actually go into the simulator-ish category. So I'm looking at this list already and wondering just how f***ed I am in the comments, but hey, f*** me up, fam. I think if there could be a mix of like Richard Burns' Rally and Dirt Rally 2.0, that would be just like the best rally game of all time. So someone please go and make that. Appreciate it. Oh, Wreckfest. This is actually genuinely a difficult one because this game is pretty good as a driving sim. It's pretty fun. I'd say that though, because of the sort of, although the purpose of this game is to wreck each other, the car doesn't really react very well when it gets crunched. What I mean by that is that in other games, which we're going to get to very shortly, when you crash a car, it's pretty damaged. It shouldn't work so much anymore. Whereas in Wreckfest, you can like smash a car to within an inch of its life and still drive it round. It's a lot of fun. I love Wreckfest, but I'm going to pop it in the arcade-ish. Am I going to do that? No, you know what? It goes in middle of the road. It's all right. I think it does enough just to be middle of the road. Just about. I couldn't tag arcade to it. I don't know. Arcade isn't a bad thing, by the way. I feel like I'm treating arcade like it's some sort of horrible negative thing. It definitely isn't. But yeah, that's where it sits. Now, BeamNG. This might surprise some people, but given how detailed the physics engine is and how detailed the crashing is and how the car works, every part of the car is actually modelled and can brake and have an effect on how the car handles and moves. Based on that, I think it goes in pure simulator, because I'm trying to do this as driving games to be as close as a simulator as possible, not driving games in terms of actual driving. So for this, BeamNG just does that incredibly well. Does that really, really well. The driving experience is getting better and better as time goes on, but everything else, landscape, the way the car handles on different surfaces, is actually really, really damn good. I'm going to be making a video about it soon, by the way, just for information. So I'm looking at this list and thinking, am I right in doing this? But yeah, it goes there. I'm not gonna think about it too much. It stays there. Right, SnowRunner. SnowRunner is a difficult one to do because it doesn't really have much steering wheel support, but it's still really good and really fun on the gamepad, and the way that the terrain sort of deforms when you're carrying your huge load through various sticky situations is pretty damn cool, and I think fairly realistic. You can chew up road so much that if you're playing online, the guy behind you then can't get through, which is something that does happen in real life. So for that reason, whilst it's not like a racing game, I am going to pop it middle of the road. Really damn cool. I actually really like SnowRunner. I'd recommend giving it a go if you're into that sort of Trackmania! Virtual, where are you, my guy? I need your help.
Silent.
I'm so nervous! I am not going to say it's full arcade. And the reason why is because Trackmania is very much physics-based, right? Obviously, you're making these massive jumps, doing flips, and doing stuff you would never do like in a real racing car and survive anyway. But the sort of theory behind it is there. Taking the quickest possible line and finding the quickest possible line for all these different courses is very much something you would do in a simulator or a proper, like, full-fledged racing game. So Trackmania is going to be my first arcade-ish entry, I think. I suck at Trackmania, by the way, so don't expect me to see any more of that. Next up, Assetto Corsa Competizione. This is very easily a pure simulator. It's very much based around, it does one thing, and it does it really well, and that thing is GT racing. It is like what happens when you focus really heavily on one particular subject, and I really think that the ACC GT3s are still the best GT3s that are to drive in sim racing full stop, but you'd expect that for a game that's based on that. That combined with sort of day-night and whatever driving means to me, it's definitely up there as a pure simulator. Rad game. Project Cars 3. You guys remember when we were told how realistic it was going to be, and then be told that it's going to do away with annoying things like pit stops? Project Cars 3, for me, was one of the most disappointing games that I've played. But as a pure, as a racing game, I'd pop it in arcade-ish. There are some elements of sim to it, a little bit, but it's watered down so much that to pick up and play, it's pretty fun. But for someone like me who's a massive dickhead, it definitely sits in the arcade-ish bit. Now we move to Dirt 5, which is a game that I didn't actually spend a lot of time with, if I'm honest. I played it a little bit, and I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it. It felt a little bit like it was just being sort of pushed out the door to fill a space in the Dirt franchise. But the racing's pretty fun in it, if you're into that sort of thing. It's sort of very laid back, very relaxed. Not quite full arcade, because there are some physics to it that are somewhat realistic. I think it feels like a watered down version of the Dirt Rally physics. And for that, I'd put it in arcade-ish. I think that's sort of fair for Dirt 5. Now, Art of Rally. God, I loved Art of Rally. What a cool game. Top-down style rally game. Think back to the old sort of, oh god, what's that really, is it Rock and Roll Racing? That awesome-ass game on like the SNES. So it's physics-based, so the cars have weight to them, you can slide them about, and different services do different things. However, I will say, given that it's sort of top-down and you're expected to use either a keyboard or a controller, I would put it in arcade-ish. I really love Art of Rally though. I would say another one of these games on this list to go give a go if you haven't already. Really cool game. WRC 10. This is a difficult one because I really liked the sort of previous WRC games, and they were moving further and further towards simulator, but they didn't quite make it, in my opinion. It feels very, very similar to Dirt Rally 2.0. Actually, in fact, I'd say the off-road handling is better in Dirt Rally 2.0 and the tarmac handling is better in WRC 10. For that, it would go into the simulator-ish category. It hasn't quite gone to that full-fledged simulator where it punishes you for every little thing. I'd put Richard Burns Rally up there, which we haven't. Editor Chan, could you just pop it up there, by the way? because we haven't got it in the list here, but it'll definitely go up there. But WRC 10, yeah, I think sim-ish is what I'd say. Really cool rally experience though, and again, definitely up there with Dirt Rally 2.0 in my opinion for actually giving you an idea of what it's like to drive a rally car in anger. Forza Horizon 5! I love this game. I think it's awesome. It's so good to f*** about in. Take a Unimog and just smash it. Definitely arcade-ish, but you know what? As time's gone on, the Forza games, the Horizon games, have felt like they have more and more sort of a sim base to them. But, in Forza you can do all these drivetrain swaps, which changes, if a car's front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, and they all do the things they're meant to do. So I think our definition of what an arcade game is sort of shifting as time's going on. And to be honest, I think Forza Horizon 5 is probably one of the best racing games that has come out for a while. A really good game, but I'd still put it in this sort of arcade-ish category. Oh man, see, now Gran Turismo 7 is difficult for me, because if you don't know, I actually work for Gran Turismo. So I was quite tempted not to put that on the list, so I wouldn't get in trouble. But yeah, full disclosure, I've played a lot more GT7 than I have maybe Forza 7, which I guess is the main competitor here in this list. But for me, it just doesn't quite hit that same note as like the original Rfactor or Dirt Rally 2.0 or WRC 10. It's good, don't get me wrong, I really like GT7 for what it is, which is sort of like a car collection game in my head. But the actual like racing experience, despite the fact it's wet weather, is f***ing banging. I'm still gonna pop it middle of the road. It's like Forza and Project Cars, it's an awesome stepping stone into something more. Still a really good game, still very much enjoy playing it when I get the chance to. But yeah, GT7, middle of the road. Let's see if I work for it next year or not. I'm sorry. Grid Legends, arcade-ish. I don't have much to say about Grid Legends. It's a game I played once. It didn't blow me away. It has some minor sim elements, but otherwise, it's just a f***about game. F1 22, another weird game. I'm finding myself sort of putting a lot of stuff in middle of the road, but I can't think of where else I'd put it. The F1 games have always sort of suffered from like weird handling quirks. In the past, it was the car couldn't slide laterally without you having some weird moment. In modern games, there's always like tricks and tips to driving cars quick. For example, if you're in F1 esports, I don't think those guys go below 5th gear anywhere. So for that reason, it does go into middle of the road for me. Not quite. I mean, the games have become more sim-like as time's gone on. If you guys might remember like F1 2010 or 2011, those cars felt very odd to drive. They do feel more simmy than those games, but in a modern environment, I still think they sort of sit middle of the road. Dakar Desert Rally. I mean, the thing is, I rated BeamNG on the basis that it's not maybe the best in terms of driving in some areas, but everything else is there on point. Dakar's sort of similar. The driving itself in the game, in my opinion, sucks donkey dick. It is terrible. But it has like the road book. It has the road book navigation, which is something that no other game has. And it's really difficult to figure out. If you don't know about Dakar and how they navigate, go look it up, because it's confusing AF. I've got no clue. So I'm going to be that guy and pop it in middle of the road. Now I've not been looking forward to this one. Automobilista 2. Now, I think I've been fairly honest in the past on my thoughts on AMS2. I don't play it that much. I don't really get on with it that much. It's not a simulator that I have always enjoyed driving. There have been things that I do enjoy driving in it, and I can see the potential in it, and it's made by the very talented guys over at Racer Studios. But for me, it doesn't quite hit pure simulator. There are still a lot of things in it that I don't quite understand. The way the cars move to me is a little bit odd in some scenarios, and I feel like it's maybe a limitation of the engine. I don't know. I'm not clever enough to know that, but from a pure driving perspective and having no clue about how it works behind the scenes, it's gonna go there. Simulator-ish. I think it has, again, still a lot of potential to it, but the game's been out for a while now, so hopefully its potential will show itself soon. And now for an even more controversial take, the original Automobilista, the one based in the Rfactor engine, I think pure simulator. I still think the original AMS is one of the best sim games that you can drive. It's so good. There's not a bad car in the base game of that. And there's so many cool mods out there as well that you can have just a lot of fun. It does lack a little bit of sort of like the day and night and the rain and all that, but for driving, it's awesome. I really like AMS 1. For me, pure sim. Need for Speed Heat. I played this once. Full arcade. Get wrecked, Theo. Rfactor 2. Easy for me. I think pure simulator. A game that has a lot of problems, for sure. But when it all hits right, it's one of the most satisfying games to drive. There aren't many other games where you can feel what the tyre is doing through the steering wheel. Yeah, really awesome game, RF2, from a simulator perspective. But the problem is, as you go up this list, the games become less and less accessible to actually play and drive. That's something that comes with being a simulator. It becomes more of a to get running. And RF2 is definitely a good example of that. You need a degree to get into RF2 and get it working properly. It's mad. NASCAR Ignition. Whilst being not a very good game when I last played it anyway, still has some elements to it which tries to push it towards something that isn't just a full arcade racer. So I'm going to pop it in arcade-ish. There are elements to it that maybe make it a bit more of a sim, but otherwise I think it stays there. Also, the game was a dumpster fire when it came out, so. Finally, iRacing. Definitely full arcade. Awful game. No, I mean, yeah, at the top. Pure simulation. I think the only game here that locks you to a cockpit view, because that is the view you should be driving in. It aims to be a pure simulator. It does that pretty much for the most part. It does lack rain at the moment, but day-night is pretty decent. All the cars feel good. All the setup choices are there. I definitely put that as a pure simulator. But yeah, here's the list. Here is my completed tier list. Actually, no, sorry, I forgot one. It's Pyongyang Racer, baby. There it is, in there as the GOAT. Undisputed greatest of all time. Assetto Corsa in the mud. iRacing in the mud. All you need is Pyongyang Racer. What a title. Anyway, guys, here is my completed tier list. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, only a bit of fun. Don't take it too seriously in the comments, please. I know you guys are all very passionate, and I love that you also do a bit of the old sharing of the passion, but let's keep it civil. I've got to say a massive thank you to one of my moderators, Mr. Giggs, for actually putting this list together. I'll pop a link to it down below in the description if you want to make your own video or do your own version of this. I'd love to see it. Feel free to do that. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to tap that like button and subscribe if you want to, of course. And I've got to end off this video by saying a massive thank you to my channel members, the guys who have hit the join button down below. Thank you for supporting my channel and allowing me to piss off hundreds of thousands of people with one video. It's great. Take care, have an awesome day. See you next time.